Amid rising tensions with Iran and other rivals, U.S. authorities are sounding fresh security alarms over China-linked land deals cropping up near some of America's most sensitive nuclear bases. In Missouri, local authorities have begun legal action to close a trailer park sitting just outside Whiteman Air Force Base, home of America's B-2 stealth bomber fleet. The move follows an investigation that allegedly linked the park's property owners to networks with suspected Chinese intelligence connections. Whiteman Air Force Base houses the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, one of the United States' premier nuclear-capable strike platforms and a core element of its deterrent. Business records indicate the property is controlled through a maze of shell companies, making its ultimate ownership hard to trace. According to open-source reporting, those filings ultimately tie the ownership network to a Canadian couple, Esther May and Chen Hu. Investigators then traced further links back to Chinese tycoon and former intelligence figure Miles Guo, a controversial businessman with a history of espionage allegations. Guo himself was convicted in 2024 on charges related to a billion-dollar fraud scheme and is currently awaiting final sentencing in the United States. Security alarms spiked when a Chinese citizen was reportedly caught taking photographs of B-2 bombers near the base perimeter fence. The incident has fed into wider fears that Beijing is probing U.S. nuclear and bomber bases through legal real estate purchases and physical surveillance. U.S. officials warn that even seemingly minor incidents like this can help foreign intelligence map out routines, vulnerabilities, and base layouts. They also stress that Missouri is only one example in a broader pattern of sensitive U.S. sites being encircled by suspicious or opaque land deals. In Louisiana, China-linked owners have acquired golf courses located near the headquarters of Air Force Global Strike Command, the nerve center overseeing all U.S. nuclear-capable bombers and intercontinental ballistic missiles. In North Dakota, China's Fufeng Group purchased roughly 150 hectares of farmland near Grand Forks Air Force Base, a site about 20 kilometers from facilities that host Global Hawk drones and key space communications infrastructure. In Texas, a company called GH America Energy pursued the Blue Hills Wind Farm project near Laughlin Air Force Base, sparking fears that Chinese military ties could enable espionage or even power grid disruption. In response, Texas passed the Lone Star Infrastructure Protection Act to block foreign adversaries from owning critical infrastructure. In Wyoming, a firm named Mine One Partners bought land just 1.6 kilometers from F.E. Warren Air Force Base, which houses Minuteman III ICBMs, the backbone of America's land-based nuclear forces. Washington flagged that site as a surveillance and national security risk, and then U.S. President Joe Biden eventually ordered Mine One to sell the land and dismantle its equipment. All this unfolds just as the last major U.S.-Russia nuclear arms control treaty, New START, expired on the 4th of February, removing formal limits on both sides' deployed arsenals. Back in September 2025, Vladimir Putin floated an offer for both sides to voluntarily keep following New START limits for one additional year. President Donald Trump ultimately dismissed that deadline pressure, insisting that any new strategic arms framework must include China at the table. Beijing, whose nuclear stockpile is still estimated at roughly a tenth the size of US or Russian arsenals, has so far flatly refused to join such trilateral talks. On the 5th of February, Washington escalated rhetoric further by accusing China of secretly conducting nuclear weapons-related testing, amid already rising tensions. China's ambassador on disarmament, Sun Jian, did not directly address the specific testing allegation when questioned at the United Nations. Instead, Sun said China has always acted prudently and responsibly on nuclear issues, and rejected the overall US narrative as politically motivated. Sun Jian said, and I quote, "China notes that the US continues in its statement to hype up the so-called China nuclear threat. China firmly opposes such false narratives. It, the US, is the culprit for the aggravation of the arms race." Unquote. In June 2025, US Air Force B-2 stealth bombers carried out Operation Midnight Hammer, a major long-range strike mission against hardened Iranian targets. 7 B-2 planes flying from Whiteman Air Force Base deployed 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, some of the most powerful conventional bunker-buster bombs in the US arsenal. Over a 36-hour operation, those bunker-busters were dropped on a heavily fortified Iranian nuclear complex, underscoring why foreign powers might be so interested in land and access points around Whiteman today.